Hi, this is Andrew. This is my other true crime story video of this afternoon. This one is on the scheduled execution of convicted serial killer Glen Edward Rogers, who's currently on death row in Florida. Of course, many of you know Glen Edward Rogers. He was called the Casanova killer and the cross-country killer because Glen Edward Rogers, he would meet women at bars and would charm them and then take them to a hotel where he unfortunately killed them. He was also called the cross-country killer because he was responsible for murders in many states. You see, Glen Edward Rogers is suspected of murders in California, Ohio, Kentucky, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Florida. He's under the sentence of death for one murder in California. And of course, Glen Edward Rogers is claiming that O.J. Simpson hired him to kill his wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and her friend Ronald Goldman, but God only knows if that's really true. I don't know if it's true. But he's been responsible for other murders. And of course, here in Florida, he was convicted in the rape and murder of Tina Marie Cribbs in Tampa after he met her in a bar and brought her to a motel where Rogers killed her. And she was found in a bathroom at that motel in Tampa, Florida. He was convicted of the murder and sentenced to death, and he's been on death row for 30 years. And of course, the mother of Tina Marie Cribbs is furious that it took this long, that all these appeals allowed him to live on what you call borrowed time. Just like what I explained in the previous video on Richard Gerald Jordan in Mississippi, who's pretty much has been living on borrowed time for nearly 50 years now that his execution's set. But for Glen Edward Rogers, I remember seeing his story in the FBI files. I didn't see the one they did on him on Southern Fried Homicide, but like I said, he's responsible for murders in many states, as I said: California, Kentucky, Ohio, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Florida. And he's only been sentenced to death for two of the murders, one in California and one in Florida. And the one in Florida of Tina Marie Cribbs, his execution is set for May 15th, which is 2 weeks from yesterday, because yesterday Florida executed Jeffrey Glenn Hutchinson. And now 2 weeks after that, Florida will execute convicted and suspected serial killer Glen Edward Rogers. And of course, he doesn't have very far, and it's highly unlikely that any of his appeals will succeed because they've all been exhausted and there's nothing left really for him to appeal. Well, hope you enjoyed the video and let me know what you think. Thanks.